अगर तलवार की नोक पर या एटम बॉम्ब के डर से कोई हमारे देश को झुकाना चाहे, दबाना चाहे, ये देश हमारा दबने वाला नहीं। तो एक सरकार के नाते हमारा क्या जवाब हो सकता है सिवाय इसके कि हम हथियारों का जवाब हथियारों से दें।
Lal Bahadur Shastri became India's second Prime Minister after Jawaharlal Nehru died of a heart attack in 1964. He served one of the shortest yet eventful stints as the country's premier.
शास्त्री जी का जो रूप निखरा उसने सारे देश को मुग्ध कर दिया। शास्त्री जी का कद अचानक बहुत ऊंचा हो।
Politically, I have always been in the Congress and with the Congress. I must say that the biggest impact on me was of the leadership of Gandhi ji. Later on, in fact, at the same time, the Prime Minister, I considered him to be one of the architects of our country before our freedom and after it also. A man of high and noble character, he also did create a great impression on me.
His stint abruptly came to an end with his death in Tashkent, a day after signing the Tashkent Agreement between India and Pakistan in 1966. That was meant to broker peace between the warring neighbors over the Kashmir dispute. The agreement failed to achieve much and was widely criticized. Shastri's death, however, overshadowed it all and paved the way for the establishment of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, with Indira Gandhi taking over as his successor.
I will spend a couple of minutes to talk about the tall ideas, the tall contributions of this tall leader who was just 5 foot 2 inches. Take it from me, 2 years later, when you make your first visit to an academy named after him in Missouri, no matter how tall you might feel, but in front of his statue, his ideas, his vision, you will always remain tiny. Today, many of us might think that prime ministers, they sit on the fence. They do not participate in wars. Why should they take credits for it? But to be honest, the hardest of all jobs in the world is to take decisions. One wrong decision can ruin generations. I'm not kidding. We all know this. How one wrong decision from leaders of Iraq to Ukraine have ruined generations. But at the same time, one right decision could transform your country for better. And Shastri ji took those decisions. 1 year, 7 months, 2 days. That was his tenure. Yes, today is a very special day. Today is the birth anniversary of a leader who should indeed be called a leader. His values, his belief system have inspired me. And if I could even be 1% of what he has been throughout, I'm fairly certain that it will be a life well lived, at least for me. Today is a special day because it's the birth anniversary of India's second Prime Minister, Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. Do you know his last name was not Shastri. His last name was Shrivastava. And when I was in school, I used to take immense pride in that fact, only to realize later that there is absolutely nothing in taking pride in the last names. Last names in India have been used to identify caste, class, religion, and this false pride of identifying ourselves to a specific caste, specific religion, specific class has been the cause of so many evils for so many of us. Perhaps Shastri ji gave up on his last name because it signified a caste surname. Of course, there are counter arguments, as is the case with any argument, but I will not spend time on counter arguments today. I will spend a couple of minutes to talk about the tall ideas, the tall contributions of this tall leader who was just 5 foot 2 inches. Take it from me, 2 years later, when you make your first visit to an academy named after him in Missouri, no matter how tall you might feel, but in front of his statue, his ideas, his vision, you will always remain tiny. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a matter of immense pride that India was led by such leaders in the beginning. Think about this. Shastri ji, he served as India's Prime Minister for how many years? Less than 2 years. But today, India would not have been what it is without him. When India gained its independence in 1947, we always had those food shortages, heavily dependent on food grain imports. It was only under the leadership of our second Prime Minister, India initiated something called the Green Revolution. High yield variety seeds for wheat and rice. Not just that, I think the expansion of irrigation infra took place in those years. And in just a few years, by 1970s, India not only just become self-sufficient in food grains, but India had surplus amount of grains that they could store for future use. Jai Kisan was indeed his motto. But he did not just stop there. How can we forget the 1965 war with Pakistan and the pivotal role that he played there? Today, many of us might think that prime ministers, they sit on the fence. They do not participate in wars. Why should they take credits for it? But to be honest, the hardest of all jobs in the world is to take decisions. One wrong decision can ruin generations. I'm not kidding. We all know this. How one wrong decision from leaders of Iraq to Ukraine have ruined generations. But at the same time, one right decision could transform your country for better. And Shastriji took those decisions. He showcased to the world that this time he will not hesitate to go on the offensive to protect the territorial integrity of India. And please note, those times were different. Pakistan was an American ally. India was an insignificant player in the international relations. And even in those circumstances, Shastriji allowed the Indian army to cross international borders. That happened. The strategy of counter-attack in those situations was a brave decision. And not just that, he efficiently communicated India's stance to the world. 1 year, 7 months, 2 days. That was his tenure. That's it. And even hundreds of years from now, I'm sure we should not forget his unforgettable contribution to Mother India. It is not a surprise why future leaders of India are trained in an academy that is named after him. Because Shastriji exemplified selfless service, humility as a public servant. It is a travesty that many civil servants are forgetting that humility, the ideas of selfless service, the glitz and glamour of likes and retweets. But I'm sure all of you will change that and will stand for the values that our second Prime Minister stood for.